creative people in this audience today. So I'm going to stop. It's all yours.
All right, thank you very much. Well, my name's Jan Fox, and I am a know-it-all. But my 3 words are funky, risk-taking, that's hyphenated, and then I have one that's really hyphenated, get her done. So, what are you doing right now? You're doing something right now. Ever since I stood up and you said anything, you started doing it. What are you doing? Listening. Listening? Oh, who said that? Did you say that? Did you get it? Now here's the deal. I am not a tosser, so you take this in your own hands, okay? I can't do it. No! I'm going to kill somebody. I know I am. So what else? Listening? What else? Oh, look right here. What were your 3 words?
What were my 3 words?
It doesn't matter.
Creative, intentional, and committed.
She's assessing. That's very good. Anything else? Anticipating, all right?
Speaking.
Who said observing? Observing and assessing. Now listen, do you see how this works? I ask a question, you answer, you get a treat. So this is a good karma bulb. They're called good caramels. And if you take the wrapper off, inside the wrapper is a speaking tip, a bold speaking tip. Here you are. Now I think you've been doing this. I think you've been playing Judge Judy. So that's why I think assessing and observing are good words. I think you've been trying to ask yourself these questions in just the blink of an eye. Can I listen to this voice? Guys, do I sound like your wives? Ladies, do I sound like your mothers? Okay. Does she really have any credentials? What about her posture? She has bad posture. I do. I have my mother's back. And because this is 40 plus, who's just slightly past 40? Just slightly, like 41. You're asking this question. Can I really learn anything from somebody with that hair color? Don't lie, don't lie, I know it's true. So that all happened in 7 seconds. You tried to make up your minds about me in 7 seconds. Nobody's left. That's good. Okay, so that's what happens to you too. When people tell you, oh, nobody's judging you, they're listening to your words, they're lying. They're looking you over and they're judging you in 7 seconds. And it means it's often on what they see, not just on what they hear. So if that's the case, how do we become bold with all of that happening? And I want you to have big impact. Now, you know your fields, right? You all said the words about what field you're in. You said them boldly. So you know what to do when you get the job. My question is, can you speak about that boldly? And here's why that's so important. Raise your hand if you go to networking events. What's the most often asked question at the networking event? What do you do? What do you do? You're all on in tune. What do you do? So what happens when somebody goes, what do you do? Don't you try to do that? Yeah, stop caring, stop listening, try to do that Michael Jackson backwards thing and get out of there fast and look over their heads to see where you can go next to talk to someone. Right? Am I lying or am I telling the truth? So if you don't have any speaking proficiency, and you are much speaking proficiency, and you go, then people avoid you. And your sphere of influence is next to none. Maybe the spouse and the cat, if you're lucky. Then if you have just a little bit of proficiency, and somebody said you should call that limp. So if you have limp proficiency, you're getting better, but it's still not so great, then people might actually accept what you say. And they'll say, I get it. Have you heard that when you start to talk about what you do? I get it. Or when you start to talk about what you want to do, they say, I get it. Well, that's when your friends say you've got potential. There's no money in that, right? Then here's when you start to develop proficiency, guess what happens? People act on what you say. So you said you're a coach, right? Angela, was it Angela? Coach, and I heard somebody else say, another coach over here. So when people act on what you say, that really feels great. And what they use is aspire language. I want to be that. I want to do what you're saying. And when I hear people say, I want to do that, I love hearing that. That's where prospects start showing up in your life. And then when you get really good here, you practice proficiency, that's where they act. So the minute you say something and somebody does what you say, You get big audiences, and you get senior leadership to pay attention to you, and you get interviewers to pay attention to you if you can tell stories about how you helped somebody act on what you said. And then here's where it gets good. If you really make an effort to master full speaking proficiency, just might as well call yourself a global thought leader, because people want to achieve their fullest potential. When you came here today, you hope to hear something that would make you want to achieve your fullest potential. Am I right? We have yet to see if that's going to happen, but at least you know what I mean when you hear people say, oh man, I know I've got a little more to go, I'm going to get there, thank you. Then that makes you a global thought leader. So do I convince you of the importance of bold speaking? You got it, all right. So what does a bold speaker look like? I think a bold speaker, first of all, well, there are two things right at the top, but maybe this is more important than what I'm going to talk about next. But I think you have to be believable. And your body shows believable before you even say a word. If you have that haughty thing and they see you gesturing like this, or if they see your back turned to somebody as you're speaking, there's this automatic perception that there's no believability. So why would I put a picture of Dolly Parton up with the word believable on the same slide? Why are you snickering? Okay, so I had a chance to interview her years ago. And I said, Dolly, is there ever a time you want to take the wigs off, flip those fingernails off, and just be all Dolly Rebecca Parton me? Well, honey, it's like this. I just like painting and powder. This here's a good barn. I can paint it up so it looks real pretty. But I'm telling you right now, if I take this paint off, it's still a good barn. So I don't have any idea what might be the real Dolly Parton. But here's what she said to me next. I come from a little old town in Tennessee. We don't have fuel for the winter. We don't have food for the tables. We don't have books for our schools. And if I came out here to LA and just sang little old Dolly Parton songs, I couldn't do anything to help my community. But I made up this character, and you better believe I'm sending a whop load of money back to Tennessee. She told me immediately who she is, what she's doing, and why she's doing it in that short little spurt of words. So you have to really work at being able to do that, to convince the interviewer or to convince the people around you that you know who you are, what you're doing, and why you're doing it, and that makes you instantly believable. Make sense? So this is Janet Ray Fox from Montgomery and Locust Streets, love downtown Shelbyville, Indiana. When you look at that picture, what do you see? What do you see? Innocence, yes, that's where the caramel. What else do you see?
History.
What?
History.
History, yeah.
A time pattern.
Long history, honey. Long history. So here's coming for you. Oh, so bad. One day I'm going to hurt somebody and I'm going to stop this bad habit. But I love the fun of it, so I can't stop it. Well, I see a broken roof, a broken window, a broken fence, weeds, my brother's dirty knees, and I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I'm standing there with one of those black beads of sweat that little kids have around their necks. And I can smell that moldy house, just like it was yesterday. But this is my pretty mama. Isn't she cute? I would walk down the streets of Shelbyville, Indiana, and guys from across the street would holler, "Little Foxy, you're cute, but your mama, she sure is purty." So that would make me feel like, what? Chopped liver or a second-class citizen or something? And then they would say, "Little Foxy, how did you get such a purty mama?" Well, I think that set up 60 plus years of not feeling good enough. But today, my brother and I know that she was deeply troubled. She was full of rage and anger, and she was abusive. But this is my great Aunt Lottie. Isn't she cute? She's the only one in my whole big family whose clothes ever matched, okay? So one night I got to go to her house, and she let me watch on her TV, Miss America. Now, I remember, and I have no idea why a kid 9 or 10 years old would be caught up in this, but I remember hearing those dresses go swish, swish, swish. Can you hear them? And then I was mesmerized by their shiny white teeth. I wanted smiles like they had, because I have an overlap, and Dottie Owens in 5th grade, she got braces and I didn't, so I wanted smiles like those women. So I go home that night, and I remember standing on my old bed, dirty bed, and I pick up a dirty old blanket, and I look in the mirror above the dresser, and I give myself a strapless gown. Then I give myself a new one, shoulder gown. And then that blanket became my cape. And you know what I did, right? I walked the runway on that bed, and I was Miss America. And I remember, like it was yesterday, saying, I'm out of here, pointing to a mess. I'm out of here. I'm going to live like they do. So are you sitting there thinking I'm about to tell you that I got to be Miss America? Hey, why is that so funny? Come on here. Why is that so funny? No. I got to be Miss Shelbyville, Indiana in 1962. I think I had to look like a golden corn cob to win, but other than that, I got to pass out ribbons to chickens and pigs and cows in the 4-H barn. No Miss America. But how did that kid, that mangy little kid, end up 20 years on Channel 9 News? With Emmys and all kinds of other things, other awards. How did that happen?
You were driven.
You know, I was driven. I didn't know that's what it was, but I could hear my daddy's voice in this ear, so now you know I'm nuts. But he would say, opportunity knocks, in walks Janet Fox. And so I would have to take a trek into something that didn't work, and I would back out. I think they would call that agile coaching, wouldn't you? If it didn't work, you'd keep going. Who said scrum? Did you use the scrum word? You did, okay. So agile coaching means they don't always know the exact outcome, but they start that direction and they try what works, and if something doesn't work, they back out. Opportunity knocks, and walks Janet Fox. So you say it, all right, all together.
Opportunity knocks, in walks Janet Fox.
No, I'm Janet Fox. Those are bad instructions. So say your name after opportunity knocks. It might not rhyme, but give it a try, okay? Here we go. Opportunity knocks, in walks. Now a duel with bold. Boldness, are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Opportunity knocks, in walks Janet. Now, isn't there some power in that? That little, tiny, simple lesson, those little words, I think did drive me when I had fear. But I would have never known I was driven. So what else would you say got me here? Yes, ma'am.
Perseverance.
Perseverance, yeah. I had many people tell me no. All along the way, I was a school teacher, a college professor. Somebody got me on a television show arguing with a guy so the shrink guy could work it out, how we were supposed to talk. I got on television by arguing. Okay? No big journalism school. They hadn't invented that when I was a kid. But it was a fluke, an honest fluke. My daddy would say it was a big blessing. And then, after that, time and time again, something didn't work. And I don't know, I didn't know what else to do. It just kept going. It just kept going. Now, what does that mean for you from where you are right now? In this
Don't give
transition
up.
point. What?
Don't give up.
Do not give up. I'm 71 years old, and I've reinvented myself 100 times, almost every single solitary time, by necessity or fluke, or I'm doing this kind of job, speaking and coaching people to speak better, because I left Channel 9, and I thought all those years of coaching and helping people and speaking in every one of these government buildings downtown, I thought that would all be over. And people kept asking me and calling me. And so I should be knitting. But they keep calling. And now they're referring me. People are referring me. I don't even know who the people are who are referring me. So I'm just grateful for it. And what it tells me is opportunity is here and people need help. And so I'm just putting one foot in front of the other. So if you do that, I guarantee you there's something better for you along the way. Might not be exactly what you want, but walk that direction anyway. Back out when you're ready, and the next thing's coming. I call it living in reinvention mode. So I wish I had some kind of scientific process that I used to get from that moldy house to here, but I didn't. We didn't know any better. We just kept walking. So now, I want to see if I gave you what Stephen Denning calls a A phenomenological experience. Try to say that. You got smart people here. It took me a week to say it. Phenomenological. And here's what it means. When I told you I came from that ratty house, moldy house, what did you feel for me? You felt something from me.
Empathy.
Empathy, exactly. Sympathy. And when I said that my mom was pretty, what did you think for a second? What? Country, yeah, country. Most people say, ooh.
Big shoes to live up to.
Big shoes to live up to, exactly. And then when I told you that she was abusive, I said that word very softly, I'm sure, because it embarrasses me. But what did you feel for me when I said that word? Sadness. And what did you feel for her at that moment? About her. What did you feel about her for her?
Envy.
What?
Envy.
You had envy for my mother?
Yeah.
Because she was pretty? Yes, but did you feel envy when I said she was abusive?
No.
No.
That went by the wayside.
That went by the wayside. Okay, so you switched moods right in the middle of that sentence. Anything else? Damaged. Look at me. She's damaged, but she left 2 damaged kids along the way too. I'm driven out of, I'm not going back there. And so that's got some level of damage attached to it. If there's a shrink in here, don't try to fix it, by the way, because it'll take another lifetime. All right, anything else? Yes.
There's a level of connection. Once you shared your story, if anyone in the room has a similar story, now I'm connected with you in another way.
I can't tell you how many people come up to me in this big city, dressed beautifully, telling me I lived that life. And then they feel hope that they can get out of it too, even if it hangs on for a lot of years. So then one more, I showed you my Aunt Lottie. I told you I got to go to her house and watch TV. What did you feel for me?
Happy.
Well, happy. Didn't you love my Aunt Lottie? I didn't even tell you she fed me all the cashews I could eat, so that was good. Then, when I got to the picture of Channel 9, and I said that kid somehow made it to this beautiful city, what do you think? What did you feel? Dreams fulfilled. I didn't even have the dream, and it was fulfilled. We couldn't dream that when I come from.
Admiration.
Thank you very much. Admiration.
Hope.
Hope. Who said hope? Raise your hand if it gave you a little hope. If so far you've had a little more hope than you came in with, then I love you. I've done my job. Okay, I can go now. I've done my job. That's what I want you to have. But here's the other thing. I believe that somebody, big person somewhere in the sky, just laid a path for me and I walked it. So I stand here not looking at myself saying, please admire me at all. But I have tons of gratitude. And I feel like the life I've lived was remarkable. Not that I did one remarkable thing, but it was remarkable that I, as that kid, got to live that life. So I wake up every morning and I thank the powers that be for my health, my hubby, and my house, and for the life I've had. And that gratitude pushes me on to the next day, thinking I'll have something else to be gratitude for tomorrow. And that is as hokey as it can be. But if we walk out of the house with woe is me, people see woe is me and I don't want her. When we walk out of the house with gratitude, it puts a smile on our faces and we become likable. Come on, baby. Okay, what did I do to it? You have to make them feel. That's what that phenomenological word means. That I told my story so you felt feelings, right? So you have to make everybody feel. Anybody who's interviewing you, anybody you're connecting with at a networking event, and sometimes we just go on about our words, we don't think about the impact it's having on the other side. I want you to make them feel some of these feelings. Did your feelings go up and then down and up and then down and around and back? Yeah, in just a few sentences. So you can do that too. So what's the fastest way to change somebody's behavior or somebody's attitude about you? Head or heart? Heart. It's the heart. It's absolutely the heart. In fact, I'll show you. Reggie. Old eyes. So, could I get you to come up here and do a little favor for me? Now, he does not know what I'm going to make him do. We didn't plan this, did we, Reggie? If you did, you wouldn't have come up here.
No, I have to.
Okay. So, I want you to tell me, turn this way, tell me the last time you told a story that made somebody feel that you felt more connected afterwards. Oh, never mind, that took too long. That took way too long, Reggie. You had a whole 10 seconds there.
I blew it.
Okay, so here's the deal.
Witness is here.
Now, Reggie, I want you to tell me the last time you told a story to make somebody feel connected to you.
I spoke to my sister this morning.
Okay.
Less than 10 seconds that time.
So what drove that quick behavior?
Fear.
Fear. Did I give them a long list of benefits? Here's the benefit list. We're telling you good stories. Blah, 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 blah. And the facts and figures about how many people get more jobs if they tell their story. No, what did I do? Yes, I made him feel something, right? Fear. It's one of the best drivers. In fact, if you can ever make an interviewer fear that she's going to lose something if she doesn't pick it, you've done some work. You've gotten a job. Now, you think by now I would tell you to give him a round of applause, right? I want you to give them a round of applause. I want you to say thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Take a bow. Thank you very much. Say thank you again.
Thank you.
Because by now, most groups are screaming, do it. So you need to thank them for being so nice to you. Now you can give them a round of applause. Well, it's a silly little exercise, but it didn't make a point. It didn't. So if you're not getting the response you want, you have to change the direction. Make them feel something. I love this new research. We all know that stories are supposed to touch the heart. But Dr. Paul Zak, neuroscientist and economist, says that your brain loves good storytelling too. He says that when you hear a good story or you see a good movie, your brain releases oxytocin. That's not what you think it is. And it's called the love molecule. So you can read about that when you get home. Yeah, read about that when you get home. But that molecule produces in us feelings of wanting to trust, cooperate, and show empathy. Isn't that all we want from the people we're networking with? Isn't that all we want from potential bosses? Isn't that all we want from interviewers? We want them to trust us and cooperate and give us a job and empathize with us for not having a job. It comes from the stories we tell. So instead of thinking about answering a question with an answer full of benefits or an answer full of facts and figures, think about answering their questions with stories. Not necessarily that you are the hero of that story, but that you've seen an experience like the one she's asking me about. Got it? Stories, did my story change the mood in here? Yeah. Did it change your mind about me? Now, no silver spoon born here. There was no clean food in that house. And then did it change the direction of where you thought we were going? Did you think we were going here today? No. Did it change your opinion of the value of stories? And did it change the pace of where we were going? I found myself getting small and talking small, especially when I said that abuse word. So, could it change your outcomes? If you can change the pace of a meeting when you think that interviewer is headed to, well, you're not the right person for me, and you tell a story that affects their heart, makes their brain move, then you can change your outcomes too. By the stories you tell, not by the blah, blah, I did it, blah, blah, I did. Just by the stories. Here's how you tell them. And I've given you a sheet about this. It's something is stuck. You or somebody is stuck. I was stuck in the moldy house. Aunt Lottie gave me an opening to see a different life. I took some actions and look at the rise, look at the result. So get this, the deeper the stuck, the higher the rise. That doesn't mean you talk about how stuck you were in your last job. It just means that you were in a situation working in some place that was very difficult and make it very difficult, and that you were able to help sort that out for the company and they saw a result. See how it works? And if you're a salesperson, raise your hand if you're a salesperson. I heard sales. Sometimes you, yeah. So if you're a salesperson, think about it. That client is getting to know way too fast, not going along with you. So you tell a story, and you tell a story about a client just like that person. My other client had a similar situation. He was really stuck, blah, blah, blah. We worked out a situation, and now he's increased his ROI by 42% in 2 years. What does client A want? I want the same thing. I want what he got. Give me some of that. Exactly. So stories can do all of that for you and change your outcome. So I gave you that sheet. And normally I like to take a few minutes to make you do that. But it's because we have a bunch of stuff to cover. I'll just keep going. But you take that sheet home and promise me that you'll organize yourself a catalog of good stories.
I would argue that as people in transition, we're all in the business of sales because we're selling ourselves to
Bingo.
potential employers and people we interview with and people we network with. So we're all in sales, whether we like it or recognize it or not.
You make a good point and you have a gorgeous voice. Would you hire her? Yeah. I would in a minute. All right. Now here's the deal. There are some people who think no matter who you are or what you're doing, you're in sales. Because you're trying to sell an idea to somebody, you're trying to sell a process to somebody, you're trying to sell a new product, you're trying to sell all kinds, you're trying to sell an impression of yourself. So she's right. We're all in sales, whether we like it or not. Yes.
I also wanted to recommend a course online called Storytelling
Storytelling?
from the Acumen Plus, and I can give the reference.
From who?
From Acumen. Acumen is
Sure.
is a fund that invests in businesses changing the world, and the Acumen Fund provides a lot of free online courses, and we have a storytelling course which is very helpful. So I will give you the reference.
Okay, that's great, and you'll send out the information on this. Great, thank you. There's a great book too. He who tells the best stories win, and that is by Annette Simmons. It's not new, but it is gold. Okay. Any questions about that? Next, I think you need to be on target. Now we know that if you're going to, first of all, raise your hand if you have to do this kind of speaking, public speaking, or if you have to give presentations. Yeah, most of us have that too. So we need to be, we need to know who our target audience is, don't we? But that's not what I mean here. I mean that when you stand in front of any audience, you're on target for that audience. So I try to tell you about living in reinvention mode. I don't tell that in all my stories, in all my speeches. But I thought that might be the thing that would be valuable for you, just to live in it, and opportunities will come. So I'm trying to be on target. Now I'm not 40 plus, I'm 70 plus, Ken. So I can't quite be on the age target with you, I'm just jealous. So who is this? Anybody know who this is? We're a little cockeyed here. Can you tell who that is?
It's the dog from the commercial?
What?
The dog from the Target commercial?
No,
The football player.
it's Jameis Winston. Now I'm not going to talk about his character, but if you've heard about him, he was a #1 draft choice 2 or 3 years ago. But he got in a little trouble for stealing crab legs somewhere. But that's not the point of the story. How many passes do you think most quarterbacks throw at pro day when all the scouts are watching them to decide which ones they want to take to the top of the draft? How many would you guess? What?
At least 100.
Well, usually they throw about 50 or 60. But Jameis Winston threw 102. So first of all, they were watching an arm that lasts that long. Secondly, he connected on 91 of them. And my daddy would say that the ones that weren't caught, them balls hit them boys, right in the letters, them boys should have caught them balls. That's what my daddy would have said. Hit them right here, they should have caught those balls. So how did he know he was on target? Yes.
Yeah, I was just going to say that same focus.
Practice.
He stayed focused and he practiced. That's what helped him be on target. How did he know he was on target?
Completion.
Completion. He watched the guys jump up and catch them balls. And then if he can figure it out, he can go back to the room and he can look at the QB report, the quarterback report. And that tells him all kinds of stuff about how he did. You can also look at the scoreboard, right? And it's automatic. He can tell automatically how he did if he was on target. And then, who is this? Taylor Swift. Now, I was told several years ago by a producer that I was going to go interview the new biggest name in country music. She was going to be the biggest star ever in country music. And her name is Taylor Swift. Well, I'd never heard of her. So I had to go to FedEx Field. It was a big charity event. And lots of stars were singing and performing. And I see this skinny thing standing like this with two matchsticks stuck off her skinny stick body and a hat down over her eyes so I couldn't see her, and hair big. And so I said, Taylor, tell me, are you excited to sing with all of these other stars today? Yes. What do you think about this charity event? Good. Do you like performing? Yes. So I'm going to go back and call my producer and say, I'm telling you right now, you better re-rack some video because all I'm getting is yes. And so we're going to show video, yes, video, yes. That's all you're going to get. And I thought, this is a waste of my time. But that skinny stick was the first woman ever to sell $1 billion worth of records. $1 billion. First country music star ever to grace the front page of Time magazine. Was she on target? Yes, she was. Does she know what she's doing out there? Is she speaking to that crowd? But we have to figure out as quickly as we can how to be on target with that interviewer in front of us, or how to be on target for a group if you have to do group or team interviews. And how can we tell if we're hitting the mark? And if we have to do some kind of presentation to win approval, how can we tell if we're hitting the mark? She can look in her wallet, she can look at her bank account, and while she's singing the tune, she can check her phone and see how many she sold on iTunes. We can't do that. So I made up a checklist for us. It goes like this. Before your interview, did that interviewer send you a note or say something to you like, oh, I've been looking forward to meeting you? Or I was really pleased to receive your application. Thank you for applying. Did you feel anything in that response to your application that had a little bit of a positive message for you? During the conversation you're having, what can you tell by how she's reacting? What can you tell?
Posture, tone of voice.
Posture, tone of voice. Did she look like she had a rough night last night? In that case, take it easy on her. Okay. Yes. Anything else? So you can tell by the body language. And then the comments after. I really enjoyed this conversation. I can see how you could really help our team. You listen for those kinds of things. And if you don't quite hear them, say one or two more lines, little story-like lines that can help elicit that from them. And that's a little tiny commitment to you, and you want to live on that. Okay? And then aspire language. Did she say, oh, I really want you on our team. I think you could be good for our team. Did you get a note the next day saying how grateful she was for the interview? Did you feel like you could maybe give her higher sales and she acknowledged that? Or that you could help her teams get more buy-in? These are all the things that you can hear in or around before, after that interview that would help you know if you were on target. And in your presentations, it works exactly the same. I know which of you are nodding your heads yes. I know which of you are snickering. I live on Snickers. Not guffaws, but Snickers. I can tell if you're snickering in the right place. So we can tell these things. And so we have to look for them and make sure we're giving them lots of reasons to give us positive responses. We can make them have the positive responses. Next is likability. Now, does this sound shallow to some of you? You have to be likable. Repeat after me. People do business with people they like. and you hear it all the time, know, like, and trust. I'm telling you right now, they don't even go to trust and want to know if they don't like you first. That likability is the first threshold. And they have to see it, not hear it in our words, but see it in our interactions in the waiting room, or how we interacted with their receptionist, in our body language. They see it in how we've dressed. So it's not shallow. And I've traveled all over the place talking about this, and these are some of the words that people have told me that they think likability means. And a friend of mine wrote a book, 11 Laws of Likability, and she included patience and perception. Now look, I spent 30 years on street corners trying to get people to talk to me on TV who didn't want to talk to me on TV. So I got no patience. I got a producer in my ear. Get in front of the camera, get in front of the camera. We gotta go on in 10 seconds. You only got 10. So I'm one of those get her done types, and patience eludes me sometimes. So when you have that antsy feeling in that interview, you just wait her out. Wait her out. And whatever her topic is that she's been discussing, ask another question to let her talk more on it, even if you are bored to tears. Show patience. And then perception, as I said, that perception doesn't come just from your words. It comes from your whole affect. So, here's what I want you to do. Take out your cell phones, and I want you to not check your email. And here's what we're going to do. Give me your at-rest face. Here's mine, and gravity has owned it for the last few years. Are you ready? Here it is. That's me working at my computer. That's my mean mom standing in the kitchen sink doing dishes. So give me your at-rest face, and no smirks, no cute little grins, no twinkly eyes. Just give it to me, your face that's working, your face that's troubled, your face that's worried about whether or not you're going to get a job. You got it? Now take a snapshot of that, a selfie. If you don't know how to take a selfie, ask the youngest person in the room. You got a selfie? No smiling. Aren't you the electronics guy?
Yeah, I want to take a picture of myself.
Okay. So now we can show you. You got it, okay. So did everybody take a picture? Now take a look at it. Would you hire that face? Now show it to your neighbor. Show it to a neighbor. Now no hiding it. Show it to a neighbor. Now let's ask this question. Raise your hand if you saw somebody you hired. Did anybody So here's the deal. On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to hire that face? Exactly. So I'm saying you wear that face in your car or on the metro to the interview. And when you get out of your car, out of the metro, you put on your likable face. And I'm not saying you acted. You're all grateful for something in your lives, aren't you? Just put your gratitude on and walk in there like you own it and you're loving life today. Because it matters. And I'm not telling you to fake it till you make it, but if you have to do that, that's not too bad either. Okay? So here's the secret weapon. What do you suppose the secret weapon is for being likable? Smile. Everybody says smile.
Liking yourself.
Liking yourself is a good one too. It's listening. They all love to talk about themselves, even the interviewers who are there to get your information from you. So let them talk, and it doesn't sound like this. Have you raise your hand if you've seen this? This little guy wants cupcakes, and his mom is saying, "No, you may not have cupcakes for dinner." And he's going, Linda, listen, honey, Linda, listen. And he's saying, giving all these crazy reasons. We have to break everything down. And she says, "I'm not breaking everything down. You cannot have cupcakes for dinner." But the video doesn't run because of our computer system. So does anybody seem to be listening in that conversation? Is she listening to him? Is he listening to her? They're both saying this word, which starts with World War III. I want you to erase this from your vocabulary forever. At home, in interviews, on the job, because this word starts World War III. And I personally can attest to it. A few years back, I came home and my sweet, wonderful husband who cooks and dances at weddings and all that. he said, Foxy, could you get those plastic containers out of the sink so I can work on dinner? Yeah, but when you clean up all those newspapers and magazines around your chair in the family room. That yell it lasted for 3 days, and by the end of it, my dad was an Indiana hick, and his dad was an up in Indiana. And we still didn't talk for 3 more days. Just a little yell it. So if that interviewer asks you any question that you disagree with, don't say yell it. Because you'll be done. The only response to yell it is arguing. That's the only thing somebody can do, is be defensive and argue with you when you say this word. This word, the elimination of this word can save marriages. Okay, just saying. Just saying. So I'm going to teach you 3 layers of listening. You know who this is? Eva Longoria. Oh yeah, I had a whole bunch of comments. Y'all know this. It's Eva Longoria, but what I'm about to tell you has nothing to do with Eva Longoria. I just needed those letters. Okay. So here we go. The first one is empathy. Whatever that interviewer says about what's going on in her office, show empathy for that. It sounds like, I get it. I understand. That's got to be pretty tough. And don't sell yourself. Just stop right there with this little dab of empathy. And then show vulnerability. You know, I've been there too. I've been on teams like that. I hear what you're saying. That's really rough. Sometimes I've had to question where we were headed to. You're sharing her pain, taking some of it away, putting it on yourself. Get this? The next one is advocacy. And even in an interview situation, you can say, we're on the right track. We could work on that. I'm sure we could work on that. And what does she do after you show empathy and you say, I get it? And you stop, you shut up. Then what do they do? They yap. And in that yapping, they tell you more of what they need, and more of what makes them mad, and more of what can save their lives. And then after you show the little vulnerability and say, I've been there too, I've been on a team like that. Oh yeah, you get more yapping. And in every line of yapping, there's some little cue and clue that you can use to show what you can do to assist. But only after you get to advocacy and say the we word. So what do you think of that? What's your reaction to that?
It's good.
It's good. It's good. It's good.
Makes sense.
Makes sense.
Good tools.
Tools, exactly.
Strategy.
And whoever in the world came here and told you that you have to listen better to the interviewer, they tell you how to talk about yourself in the interviews, right? I want you to listen to them and base what you say next on what problems you heard and all of the stuff that comes out of their mouths after you use this kind of listening. Okay? All right, now, guess what? Ellen gave this little guy a whole mountain of cupcakes. I would show it to you, but you just pretend they're showing up when the curtains pull, okay? So, why was Ellen voted the most likable person in America 2 years in a row? She gives you what you want. She gives away the house. You get a new bathroom, a new kitchen, a new 2 days in a spa in Hawaii. I mean, she gives you everything. But she gives you one more thing. What is it? That makes her so likable. Empathy. Yep. She is very funny, but here's what she does. Watch her sometime. She lets you sit in the chair and be funny, and she laughs at you. She doesn't always like the guys on the late shows. She doesn't always have to have the laugh line. She can do it, but she lets you make them too. She lets you do and say funny things. That's great freedom for somebody sitting in that chair. So, if you give away a bathroom, if you let them laugh, and if you show empathy, you can get the job, okay? So, that's what she does. Now, I want you to be daring. And I don't mean this kind of daring where you have to stand out. You all know you have to stand out. You can't be like the last guy who was being interviewed, right? And you don't have to just take risks in there. You have to throw a lifeline. And that's what I mean. This is what I mean. That interviewer feels like this. I guarantee you. She feels like this. I don't know how they got there. But that's how her day goes. She's overwhelmed. She's trying to fill a hole that she can't fill. So just throw some lifelines. they try to say to us, be hopeful, something good will come your way. But I want you to dare to stand in hope for them. I can see you're asking all the right questions. You're going to fill this job with exactly the right person. I know it. This is a great company. I know it's going to work out for you. Yes?
I have a question about the Ava role, which
See, you remember Ava.
sounds wonderful. What if, when you listen to the person, it's then you also focused on, okay, I'm going to get to the advocacy part. How do I sell myself? Or how am I going to help this person solve that problem? What if that overtakes and you get in panic mode? It's like, but I can't do that. I'm not the person. I'm not going to be able to prove it, and then you shut down.
You just wait for a long time before you say that. You got another half an hour in that interview, and she may say something that you can do. So I don't react. Remember patience. Sometimes getting the job is what you don't do, not what you do. Okay? That sounded bad. No. Sometimes it's taking no action.
Really important.
Just listening for a long period of time. Did that help? And then at the very end, maybe even you walk out as leaving her in hope that you can help her. And then you get home and you write a beautiful handwritten note and send chocolates. I sent 2 lobsters to a guy in Evansville, Indiana, saying I would love to help with you. I would hate to leave these guys behind, but I'm just not your person. Okay. Is that you, Rose Elder? Oh, how are you? Nice to see you. I'll play golf with this lovely lady. She's one heck of a golfer. It's so nice to see you. No, I didn't mean to embarrass you, but I couldn't help myself. See what I mean by ready, fire, aim, get her done. That's what I do. Nice to see you. She'll have great stories to tell you. So dare to understand where that interviewer is and offer some hope. Now, I've said all of that to give you basic bedrocks to stand on for being a bold speaker in that interview. What did you get out of it? What helped you most?
Creating feelings is important.
Creating feelings is very important. Listening. Who ever heard of such a thing?
The Ava Longoria.
Ava. Just remember Ava.
The power in sharing your stories.
The power of sharing your stories. Now, I don't necessarily share that kind of story all the time, but it's the one I know that I can guarantee will make you feel something. And I had a friend who knew me well. She actually spoke here, Cindy Porter. Cindy Porter. I had a blank there. Cindy Porter spoke here. And she said, you know, Foxy, I know something about your mother that you're not saying. You're not saying how abusive she was. I didn't think I could say that even in front of a group like this. But I snuck it in. And I'm not kidding. The response to the stuck is much deeper. Mm-hmm. The response to the rise has much more pride and motivation and admiration in it because I used that one word. So I worked with Cindy, and she has an incredible story. She's a personal image consultant, and she is not responsible for this. At least did not tell her. Okay. So she would say, you don't wear black, people with your hair color don't wear black, blah, 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 but I wear black anyway, so don't tell her. But she said to me, Foxy, I want to be more compelling when I speak. And I said, well, you're selling hope to people by telling them how to dress and how to project a beautiful, positive image. That's not how you do that. So now she tells this little story, and I sometimes have to reach for a hanky myself. And I don't often do this either. You've got ready, fire, aim this morning, Ken. Okay. But she built in, I said, get some hankies, I'm coming to your house, and we're going to get all of your stories out. It took 3 or 4 hours. And here's how she boiled it down. Raise your hand if you go in your closet every morning and you walk out feeling beautiful. That's exactly what I thought. I don't either. Because when I was little, I sucked my thumb, and I kept sucking it until I was 16 years old, and I had severe buck teeth. I was terribly pigeon-toed so that my feet hit themselves as I walked. And I had to wear braces, and all the kids at school bullied me. And I chewed the buttons off my shirt in first grade because I was so nervous. And a psychologist was peeking in the window and he saw it and told my parents I was mentally retarded. So I have had every reason to grow up and feel ugly. I've had every reason to not feel beautiful. We all have reasons to feel that way. But we can learn to look in that mirror and say, I love what I see. And how we dress and what we do to project that image, other people will see that. They won't see what came before. And doesn't that make you cry? So she gets a huge response when she talks because of that, and she didn't get the same response until she interjected that story. So use what you can of your prior stories. Just weigh out how much of it's too brutal and bloody or whatever. You have to weigh out what you can say easily. I don't have to describe those things, I just have to say that. Did that answer your question? It wasn't a question, we're making a statement about telling your personal stories. That's it.
So if you're in the asynchronous mode, like giving a product or a technical pitch, how do you get in feeling into something?
I know the answer to that. I worked for IBM and Accenture and a place called Wang years ago, the first computer company ever. So that tells the age. So here's the deal. If you're talking about a product, or you're showing them how to use a product, and you say, look, I was working with another company the other day, and one of the guys had a brilliant idea, and he said he was having such trouble trying to figure out how to incorporate this, and he did, and he blah, 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 and go ahead and use technical electronic language that I don't understand, but they get it. They get it much faster than if you just keep going down the list of features. Does that help? Can you get an idea?
Related to how that solved the problem.
Solved a problem. But make them stuck first. The problem doesn't mean as much until you say they were stuck worse than this. Okay. And then also if it's not a sales situation, but just a user, you're talking to people about learning how to use something, you can do the same thing. It looks impossible now, doesn't it? This really looks impossible, trust me. I worked on this for 3 months before I had it figured out and before I could go. And I started small. Here's the first step I took. So we're going to take that step together. Did you want to follow me? I don't even know what I'm talking about, right? But stories do that for you. And you can't find a place where I can't find a story to match the subject or to match the feeling that's needed. They're everywhere. They're in your life. They're all around you. So I would suggest that you take that little sheet of paper I gave you and make a list of all the stories you can think of that you can tell. What did I take? 8 sentences to tell my story? 5 or 6 sentences. Stories that you can tell like that, and then figure out how to use them. And then there's a tip at the end of every one. Like the end of my story was, keep walking. Keep doing the next right thing. Keep hearing Tom Fox's voice in your ear. All right? That answer it? Okay. So now, I turned my bold speaking system into what I call speak tweaks. But somebody, an agent, speaker agent, said, no company's going to buy tweaks. You have to make it much bigger. So I tried sharpen your speakability, but that was a funky made-up word that I had to explain. And then a guy sent me a note, and he said, Foxy, you turned me into the bold speaker I always wanted to be. And I said, that's it. I'm going to teach people how to be bold speakers. See how things just drop in my lap. But I'm still going to give you the speak tweaks to turn you into a bold speaker, because they're little micro acts that can maximize your impact very quickly. And this guy is saying ho ho ho, and he's saying ho 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 many different ways. And there are 2 guys, and they're arguing with him about how he should say it better, and he's feeling tortured. And so I say that Santa Claus, your kids have never seen a bad Santa Claus, right? But they're torturing him. So if I don't do anything to you, some people say what I do is Foxy's torture chamber because I make you do things. We'll see we'll see it in a minute. But if I don't do anything to him, he's still perfect to your children. If I don't do anything to you, you're still perfect. So I'm not trying to mess with you big. I'm just trying to do this. I'm trying to stretch your skin a little bit. I want you to sit in your comfort zone about speaking and interviewing. Sit there for a second, you got it? Now all I'm trying to do is just stretch that a little. My husband says I should put out a sign that says taxidermist, but that sounds disgusting. But that's what I live for, just seeing that little comfort zone and skin stretch just a little bit. So I don't talk about your what. I've now proven to you that I can't talk about your what, right? Reggie, what did you say you did?
Starting a new business.
What is it?
I was helping small business owners network more effectively.
Okay, that I might know a little something about. But you make it any more difficult than that, and I'm telling you right now, I cannot help you with your what. All I'm going to work on is the how. No matter what it is, it's the how. And it works for every single solitary industry. It starts with your visual rhythm. Remember I talked about that at the beginning, it's what they see. So have I had any visual rhythm here today? Have you seen things? Have you seen me move? Have you seen me walk the talk over here to her? Have you seen me gesture to you when you had a great answer a while ago? Things like that. Point. I do the 3-point backwards PowerPoint walk so I can just point to my, I'm trying to do things so that I'm not just standing still, but you need to have a visual rhythm even sitting in the chair in an interview situation. Yes?
So you raised the issue of the visuals, and I'm just captivated by your slides, which are very different from the way slides used to be, meaning my own slides. And it's more picture, there's no bullets, and I feel like I have to redo.
Yes, you do.
Here's what has happened. I noticed this in other presentations recently too. Something has dramatically changed. Can you speak to it?
I know exactly what it is. Do you have a kid?
A few.
Do you have a kid a grandkid who's hooked on video games?
Yeah.
They have no attention span. We have no attention span, zero zilch. If it doesn't catch our attention in 3 seconds, we're done. So now, savvy meeting planners are asking you to send your deck ahead of time. And if you send a deck full of bullets, if you try to get in front of a group like this and talk with bullets and you read a bullet, they're gone. I'm promising you they are gone. Raise your hand if you would be gone at that kind of thing. Yes. It's an illness. We hate it. It hurts our bellies. It hurts our eyes. It hurts our ears.
Well,
so,
do you have any resources for how we learn how to make them look like this?
I sure do.
Because I'm real good at making them look the old way.
I was too. It was painful, but now I love it with all my heart. I'll stay up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning making them.
They're gorgeous.
Well, here's the deal. I can put the word visual rhythm here, and it might not mean anything, but you just see this little eyeball down here, and that helps you. So everything that you want to say, all right, in that little book I gave you, did you all get that little book? In the back are 25 PowerPoint points. Do we have some more back there? If not, I'll have to do.
There's a couple books here.
Oh, good. So that little book has 25 PowerPoint points. And I want to tell you thank you from the bottom of my heart for noticing. Because every person I coach to be a better speaker hates me for doing something to their slides, but their slides come out looking absolutely fabulous. Not because I do anything to them, but because they go home and think visually instead of in bullets. So I'm going to give you 3 resources right away. It's Pixabay, pixabay.com. Pixabay. Now you're onto something I really love, and I'm messing with my time frame, but I don't care. Okay. Pixabay.
Say it again.
Pixabay. Pixabay. Another one is Adobe, and you might pay $29 or something to join Adobe. But they have slides where the whole slide is the picture. Have you seen some of those I've shown you? And so and then also go on Google Images and buy free. There are many, many images that are free. Don't buy anything that has a trademark on it. Now, if you happen to use one, and I think I have one thing on here that they may someday shoot me a letter and say cease and desist. And then I cease and desist and I'm safe. But if I don't cease and desist, then they find me. Okay? So I gotta fix it someday. But those are places where you can get images. If you're a good photographer, you can take images. All right? So the slides also, and I'm stuck on this one, but did you notice how I flipped through them? I don't stand on them for hours, do I? I stand on them for a couple sentences. And then I flick. So it runs a little bit more like the movie because you can tell what this is going to talk to you about in 10 to 15 seconds, so I don't need to stand here forever and a day talking about it on the same slide. Make sense? So, what this means, how many slides do you have in your deck now?
20.
You might need 100. How many slides do you think I've used right now? Just say how many you think I've used right now.
50,
40, 50, 60.
30, 35, or 40.
I can tell you, I don't know. We'll find out. Let's see. I'm on 71. Isn't that crazy? So there will be people who say, oh no, I can't use too many slides. You can't use too many slides. You can't, because you need 1 point per slide. Every place you have a bullet on your slide, every bullet is another slide. Every bullet is another slide. Everybody hating me right now? Say, I hate you. Because I change your life in a hurry by doing this. It makes you work harder and harder. I'm going to give you another guy's name. His name is Brett Maliti. B-R-E-T-T dot Maliti at gmail.com. M-E-L-I-T-I. You can tell him I sent you. Sometimes he gives you a good deal.
One more time.
M-E-L-I-T-I. Brett.Maliti at gmail.com. And he works for a big design company now. So I get things from him at 2 o'clock in the morning. Okay? He works at night, but he can't help himself. He loves to work. And so he will design a background for me. He will design some backgrounds for me. Or if I have something that needs to move and I can't make it move, which is often, if I can't figure out a way to make it look the way I want it, he will fix it. I just took that whipped cream off this crazy thing and I did it again. Does anybody have a tissue? Let me just pop this back together again. Thank you very much. Now, I'm sure that Ken has people here who are class acts, but this is not one. Okay. Sorry, Ken. Yes, I do. I must have dragged it through the whole plate. I thought when I bought this crazy jacket, have you seen them in the stores? They all have these little sweaters and jackets have these little tails on it. Yes. I said to myself, if I buy that, I'll have that dragged through something. But do you think that's stuff? No, and now I drag it through whipped cream not once, not once, but twice. Okay, thank you. Thank you for saving me there. So this guy, did that answer your question about slides?
Thank you.
So I just love.
If you have any more of these.
I do in my bag at the back. But don't make me dig now because that'll look worse than whipped cream on this. Okay? But I'll dig them out. Thank you.
But if somebody wanted a copy of the slides for everything you have said, then what do? You write all this in the speaker notes and send it to them after?
Nope. I send them this slide deck. I guarantee you right now that if you know my topic is bold speaking, I could send you this deck and you could stand here with this clicker and deliver it. You know why? Notice I don't have any notes? I don't have anything written in the notes section either. Do you know why? The picture tells me what to say. When I see Dolly Parton, I know I'm going to tell that story. When I say visual rhythm, I know I'm going to show you this guy. And if you could see him not move, it would be funny. Okay? So every picture tells me what to say. And I don't say that, I don't memorize anything. And I don't ever say it the same way twice. But it's in me. I've learned and lived and loved this stuff for so long. I see the picture and I just know. And it pops out. And sometimes, as you can see, it's written by a human. But I don't care about that, okay? When you get old, what you see is what you get, you know what I'm saying? So here, see this thing right here? This is a video about, and he comes out from behind that desk, and he's not talking, there's no sound, and he's got his hands in his pockets. Guys, this is not cool. That's not cool. It's not cool back here either. It's definitely not cool there, but we'll talk about that in a second. So, he's just standing there with his hands in his pockets going like this, yep. And I say, wait a minute, watch this. He's going to get excited. He's going to get excited. And I make him wait, and all of a sudden he goes, that's it. That's all the passion he had. And so that video was shown to Berkeley students, and guess how many seconds it took them to decide they're not listening to a word he says, no matter if he's brilliant. 3 seconds. 3 seconds. And these audiences, I guarantee you these audiences look like that. Now this is the most, maybe one of the most important things I'm going to say to you about public speaking and having a presentation. What you give them is what you give them, what they give you back. What you give them in terms of your passion, in terms of participation. We've had a little bit of participation, right? So what I give you, you give me back. And if we see somebody who looks like this, we can't say, oh, they partied too hard last night. They're hungover. They have a bad attitude. I think that this is on me. So if I see an audience looking like this, I'm going to dance faster. I'm going to talk louder, okay, whatever it takes. Yes?
Can you say a little bit more about creating visual rhythm when you're in an interview and you don't have the option to use slides?
I'm going to show it to you right now. let me just write, it's a couple slides down. Will you let me get to it? I don't mean not to answer you.
No, I just wanted to be sure you got there.
I'm going to get there, okay. You know, I know you can't trust me now. So words are 7% of your likability factor. Your voice tone is 38%. And Miss Woolright, what was your name? Listen to her voice. When you have a chance, just talk with her later. And her voice is all resonant. It's beautiful. Mine is scratchy because I'm excited. Okay? And then check this out. Your body language is 55% of your likability factor. So you don't stand in a speaker barrel to present. Everybody stand up for me. I know you hate presenters. You make me stand up. This is how we stand usually when we're getting ready to present to somebody. Got it? And then we might go like this. We might go like this, the little Tyrannosaurus Rex thing. We might do this. But we just stay in the same spot. So I want you to do me a favor, and that is just throw your arms out. Take 2 little steps this way. So now you're outside of the barrel. And just throw your arms out. Do it again. What is that? What just happened inside your bodies? What just happened? Yeah, she got some energy. She got some energy. So have a seat. I say set yourself free and the energy comes. Never, ever, ever, ever stand behind one of these or one of these because that is death by podium box. Death by lectern box. You hide 55% of your likability factor. So you have to just trust yourself to be out here. When you're standing at the grocery store talking in line with somebody, when you're talking on the phone to people, your visual rhythm is at work automatically. So let it be automatic in your speaking in front of people or in your interviews. Now, I'm going to make you do more work here. I need you to stand up for me. And I need you to give me your at-rest posture. Mine looks like this. And that makes me look like this. And watch what happens if I stand up straight. I look like that. Now, I'm not telling you to stick anything out, throw your shoulders back, or go from the string down to the ground and stand straight. I want you to do this. Put your hand right here. And I want you to just lift a ½ inch. Okay, now lift 2 inches. Don't lift till your neck stretches up. Your face still has to be, your chin has to still be parallel to the earth or you look cocky. So just get the right height. Now do it again. At rest. Now just lift a little bit and lift a little more. What happened inside your body as you lifted? What happened? You feel energized. What else do you feel? Confident. Did I say the word confident? I never have to say it. You just fixed it. You just got confidence. What else? Anybody feel more powerful? Don't you love it? And look, you all look skinnier. You all lost 5 pounds. You can have a seat. Now, these are known to some people as, do you need a seat? Would you?
I love to sit down, but I will stand just to listen to you.
Come right on. We got this chair right here says it's for the queen. So just pop up. That's the queen's chair. Okay, there you go. We're glad to have you. So I had a note from a guy who said, the most important thing I learned was what to do with my dreaded hangers. So I just call these things your dreaded hangers. Does everybody worry about what to do with these things when you're speaking? Yeah. Exactly. They do what they always do. So I want you to shake hands with somebody. Now you know this has whipped cream on it. Then come out like this, right here. Let it come out like that. Everybody holding it like this? Everybody holding it just like this? Now, with those breaded hangers, I want you to say the word everybody. Say the word out loud and tell me with your hands too. Everybody.
Everybody.
Now, this is 12 people. Tom has everybody. Up in front of a crowd, you can have an even bigger everybody. You know, if I'm a big crowd, I look like a puny little thing. Now, I'm not puny, but that's the way I look. So I have to give them everybody. So now, what do you do in an interview? I really hated to leave my other job because everybody was on the same team, but government cutbacks. You're never down, and you never say something negative about the job you just left. So now say over in Pittsburgh for me.
Over in Pittsburgh.
That's pretty good. I don't know where you think Pittsburgh is, but then out in California. It's bigger, isn't it? It's bigger. And now say, we just couldn't keep going with those numbers.
We just couldn't keep going with those numbers.
It broke my heart to leave. See how that all sounds so much better? I don't know if you can see me. Can you see me in the back?
No.
Well, let's see. Pretend I'm sitting down, okay? And then my hands are sitting in my lap just like this, saying all that. Those hands are your helpers. They enhance your message. They help other people interpret what you're saying sometimes before you get it out. Now, I'm not saying you're my little boy who loves to play basketball. We're not acting here. We're just letting them follow your words. Your hands follow your words. Now, there's nothing I can say that I can't figure out how to use a hand. Yes?
My teaching or training was to be more controlling of your hands.
There is a difference between being scatterbrained and looking like a crazy person with your hands going like this, and then when you make a gesture for every single word, everything you're saying is going like this, and when you have your hands going like this, they all turn in, and then all of a sudden it's so distracting. But when you're doing this, there's nothing distracting about your hands moving in sync with your words. Am I right? Does that look crazy?
No. Nowadays, a lot of first or second or third interviews are on camera on Skype. I find it a lot more difficult to relate to people that way or speak with your hands.
Oh, let me tell you something. You practice the Skype and give yourself a box. And don't ever give them an extreme close-up. That's disgusting. My husband got a new HD TV when I was 62. I said, I'm out of here. I just showed every line. I didn't know I had a chicken neck until I saw that TV, okay? So scoot yourself back. Turn your screen as high as you need to turn it, or forward as much as you need to turn it, to give yourself a shot like this. But then you have to speak loudly for your camera on the computer. And then test. You're not going to do this if you see that your shot only goes to here. So you go here, 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 here. You can still do a lot of things. And not only that, you don't have to stand in exactly the same place. You can turn this way a little bit. I was working the other day, and our numbers went right straight up. See how much you can do with your body to help your words? And it doesn't look stupid, right? Well, maybe, but I don't think so.
Would the same be true when having phone interviews or doing webinars that don't require the cam? Are you to practice and do the same thing so that your voice projects and does all the things that it should if they were to see?
What's your name?
Johnette.
Watch Jeanette's hands. They work perfectly in sync with the words. So what if you're doing a phone interview? Should your hands do exactly the same thing as when you're talking about this and that, and every hand movement she made was perfect? Yes. Put your camera up someplace where you don't have to look at it, but video yourself talking on the phone, and that's what your hands do naturally. Don't think about that video camera, and then take it down and look at it, and that lets you have permission to use your hands naturally. Let them follow your words. Did that answer it?
Right. I just know that in talking with folks when they're doing, again, these phone interviews,
Yes.
and all you have are the vocals, folks are like, well, how do I project? How do I speak in a way that's engaging to the interviewer?
You, first of all, go ahead and use your hands as you speak, and we're going to get to your voice in just a second.
I've found it really helpful to walk around.
Absolutely. I stand up.
Stand up
I
and
stand
walk
up.
around, and my voice has more energy.
Yep, and your hands have more energy.
And all of that. Sitting is really limiting. You need to stand up and walk around.
And I have my mom's back, so you know it goes like this. So if I'm sitting, I'm like this, then I can't even get any breath, you know. So I have to stand up for those interviews. And I love Skype now because I can coach so many more people than I could just by phone. You'll learn to love it, all right? So picture hangers, don't ever stand like this. That's the dreaded fig leaf position, and where do your eyes go? Don't be doing that. I don't want anybody looking there, do you? Put your hands there for a second. Doesn't that feel familiar to some of you? Yeah. And then who in the world has told everybody to stand like this, that this is leadership position?
You know, I've seen many people with this kind of position.
Yes,
even Oprah Winfrey.
Everybody's doing it because there was a TEDx talk that told you that this is leadership position. And I'm telling you right now, I don't know why leadership position draws a ring around your belly button having everybody look there. Because look, you watch my hands. You watch people's hands when they talk. This just means I don't know what to do with them.
It's more natural. Yeah. It's more natural to move.
Of course it is.
You were doing a good job of that.
Yes, she was.
You know, it's natural to want to move your hands a little bit.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be, you know.
Well, I go crazy with mine, but if you see somebody doing this, it just means they don't know what to do with their hands. And I hate it with all my heart, so don't let me catch any of you doing it.
But doesn't it look unnatural, like if you're in a situation where you're waiting for your turn to speak in a queue, doesn't it look unnatural to have your hands anyplace other than in that
No,
position?
I'm going to make you stand up. Stand up for me. Okay. Now, aren't you sorry you asked?
Yes.
So all you have to do is just give yourself a little space between your feet, and one foot goes a little forward, one goes back a little bit, and you have that space to get yourself centered. What is wrong with letting your hands just hang here? And then when you need to say something, or if somebody starts to talk, you can gesture to them as they start to talk. This looks much more natural than this, or this is the belly button warmer. I think I have that one coming up next. That's the belly button warmer. Your bellies aren't cold.
I like this one.
Yeah, and that one looks like I am not letting you in. This is bad, cut you out posture. But anyway, now you can have a seat. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
I just let them hang. And then when they're ready, when I need them, they're ready to go. And when I'm at a table, I have them not under the table. I have them sitting on the table like this, not like this, so that I just pick them up to move and keep open to the person who's talking to me. All right? Now, I had a beautiful, elegant woman who came to me. And she said, I'd like to tell more stories in my speeches. I said, okay. She stands up and does this. I was with my boss in New York City. He got called home, and so I had to go into the networking event by myself, and I just hid behind a potted plant. Okay, so I thought, I can look down this beautiful creature that she looks like a penguin. So I say, we're going to video this. And she goes, oh my God, I look just like a freaking penguin. Yes, she can see it, she can fix it. And what you see on that video that you don't like when you're talking on the telephone, you can fix. If you see it, you can fix it. You can try, if it's sitting here doing this, you can try it over here and you can tell yourself it looks a lot better. Okay? So no, none of that. And then I had a guy, Vice President of Billy Castle Golf Course. You might know this guy.
Oh, yeah.
He does this. He's got a whole bunch of spiky-haired boys in front of him. Now we've got a new customer service program. I'm going to unveil it tomorrow, and I want all of you to be on your toes. Now you know that. And I'm sitting over here thinking, what is he doing? How is he doing that? I appreciate it. It took me a week to learn how to do that. So I think, how is he doing this? And he leaves the room. Two guys right here. One of them says, "There goes old chicken wing." And the other one goes. So they know what they saw. They have no clue what they heard. So the rule is your hands do not do any wacky patterns. They do what's natural for the word you're saying. Got it? Now did that help with the visual rhythm part? So you shake hands with somebody, pull it out. That's how you use those hands to follow and look. I can do that backward walk in my PowerPoint and look how they look perfectly. To point to my PowerPoint and look how they look perfectly to say thank you, Kim. Okay? They work for everything. All right? Now eye contact. What have you been told about eye contact? Do it. Those are Angelina Jolie's eyeballs. Do you see those black dots? I had a guy say, just pretend just hover above their heads and they'll never know that you're not using eye contact. Does anybody feel connected to me while I do this? No. That I call the hovercraft. It's a no-no. Then another person said, just put a dot right here on their foreheads. So if I'm looking straight at your forehead, do you know that I'm not connecting with you? Can you tell me that?
Actually, no, I do.
Okay, now I'm going to look at your forehead.
Okay.
There it is. Then I'm going to look at your eyes.
Yes.
You see it?
Okay, yes.
It's a difference of that much, but it makes a huge difference. So I need you to look for their black eyeball dots. I can see yours, so I can look at yours, and then I know exactly where I'm looking. I can see yours, but I'm going to know where they're supposed to be. So if I look for them, then I'm still looking at your full face, but centered on the eyes. See? Does it make a difference? Can you feel it? Can you feel it? You have great eyes, so I saw your eyeball dots. All right. This is going to kill you. But look at your neighbors for 5 seconds and don't talk, and just find their eyes like eyeball dots. If they don't have them, just keep looking anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did it almost kill you? No. Now, here's how you practice that. At dinner tonight, you try to look in somebody's eyes for 5 seconds while they're talking. And then look for 5 seconds while you're talking. And if it doesn't kill you, then go for 10 seconds. And just keep going. Now, you know the question I always get asked? How long do I look? Until they look away. You just keep looking until they look away. And you don't have to give them the stare, wide-eyed stare. Just look, because that means, yes, I'm listening. And is there anybody in here who's real tall? How tall are you, Tom? Okay, that'll do. So now if Tom looks at me like this, with his head up like that, and he's looking down at me, does he look cocky? Okay, he's a funny guy. You in your speeches talk to Tom, okay? No, people who are tall can look cocky looking down at us. And how do I look trying to look up to his black eyeball dots? Meek, my husband says I don't have that bone in my body. So if you have to tilt your face just a little bit, see how he did that? He just brought it a little bit toward me, right? And if I look at him up just a little bit with my head tilted a little bit, then I don't stand here looking cocky. If I look up like that, I look cocky to him, and otherwise I look meek. We don't want any of those. We want to just have a great face-to-face, you can have a seat, you can stand there all day, parallel, faces parallel, eye contact. Make sense? You have to practice it. Now, your voice tone. Somebody asked me, I'm not going to remember who, somebody over here asked me how to have more, it's you, how to have more engagement on the phone. I guarantee you that the guy we saw, he did this, he's this flat line right here. Now millennials have given us up talk. It starts down here and then it's up here. It starts down here and goes all the way up there. Every sentence ends up there, like you have to pat them on the head. You say, I get it. So then, you know they do it. And besides that, you know if researchers named it, it's not good. Okay? So, my friend, another guy from Billy Casper Dog, don't tell everything I tell him. He started his sentences up here, bright and bold and strong, and then up down here when I love my papa. I called him in my book, I called him my little shoe dealer. Because every sentence. So I worked with him for 2 days, and at the end of that 2 days, he was really throwing his voice to the back wall to the end of the sentence. It didn't necessarily have to go down, didn't necessarily have to go up, but it had to go out to the end of the sentence. He was great. So I get a phone call. A few weeks later. Hey, Jan, I need your help. What? I need your help. I'm going to ask Janet. Throw your voice at the back wall. I'm going to ask Janet to marry me. Well, for God's sake, she needs to know the end of that sentence. So they're married and they have a kid. I don't know what he did, but he didn't drool it on his shoes. Those are bad patterns. And here I am right now. Raise your hand if you've gotten a little bit bored of my voice by now. At times. Yeah, and you get a little sleepy at times. That's because I have a pattern. I go up a little bit, down a little bit, up a little bit, down a little bit, up a little bit. I have to work very hard to not fall into a pattern that puts you to sleep myself. It's really hard. Yes, ma'am.
I guess I have a problem, and maybe hopefully you can address it. Sometimes if I am doing a presentation or called to speak, and I'm nervous, and I'm in the moment of fear, I can feel it, my voice starts to tremble. And when I hear it tremble, and then it kind of takes me off of my game.
And you talk softer, and they can't hear you, and they go to sleep, and you've lost all of your power over that audience. Right? Sound familiar? All right, it's her fault. I'm going to make you do this. But everybody stand up. Now, most people coaches, I know you from somewhere, don't I? Oh my gosh, you look good. Okay. So see, when you get old, you also see things. It's not that you can't just see things. You make up things to see. All right, so your people will say to you, speaker coaches will say, just take 3 deep breaths. That doesn't do much for you. So what I would like you to do is consider taking a breath that comes all the way from down in the middle of this earth. And you bring it up the sides of your legs like this. And you bring it up here and you throw it out. Now I'm going to do it for you once. Ah, everybody together now. Can't we call it cops? I didn't do it. Ah, so good. Most people do weenie sounds. That was good. Let's do it one more time. Now watch this. Before I was talking like this with my voice up like this. Now listen. I'm not going to do what I'm doing on purpose. I'm going to let the air do it, right? I'm Jan Fox. I'm Jan Fox, and today we're talking about bold speaking. See what it does?
Yeah.
And if I work really hard at this, and if I do this every day for several days, my voice can actually have a little resonance. It can't match yours.
Do you know how I did it?
No.
I was in high school, I debated, I was a sophomore, and I kept getting new partners for debating. And this was a time that guys' voices were changing, and the partners I got to talk with little voices like this, and the guys spoke like this, and I said, I am not going to have a wimpy female voice.
That's right.
And I worked on my voice so that I project. I do present monthly, and I've been told to have a good presentation voice.
Well, you're hearing it again and here. Do we all say amen?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm looking for. Now, if you do this for 5 days in a row, for 21 days in a row, a golf pro told me that if I went out in my backyard and I took a certain kind of swing to get into the sand and bring the club up without making a lot of movement on my body, that I could get out of sand traps. I did it 21 days in a row. I had to do it 60 times. I can get out of bunkers. I don't know where it's going every time, but I'm out of that bunker, and I have no fear going in. So using scientific extrapolation, I figure that works for doing this big voice 5 times, 21 days in a row, and you'll get a resonant voice. Okay? You can also call it up. You don't have to do the bend over in the middle of an audience. You don't have to bend over in an interview, but you can just go, yes, that's what I was thinking. And you just let your air out, let your voice out on the air. Yes, I can do that. That's just what I always wanted to do. See how it works? And I'm not faking it. It's just coming out on the air. Now, do you see how it stops when I run out of air? How it goes back up? So it's a trick. Go for it. All right. Does that answer it?
Okay, does that help you get out of the fast talking wherever you get nervous and start talking about that?
Fast talking.
Does that help you with that too?
It can, which brings me to, oh, you can have a seat. Let me do these 2 things and I'll be right there about pace. Okay? So you don't do any of these and you don't do that one. And here's how you here's how, even on a telephone call, you make an impact with your voice. I whispered something a while ago. What did I whisper? And I said, I can't tell this beautiful woman, she looks like a penguin. And then what did I scream?
That's videotape.
I mean, what now?
That's videotape.
No, I said something like, I can't tell this. No, she said, oh my God, I look just like a freaking penguin.
Yeah.
And I said, for God's sake, he needs to say the end of that sentence. Now, that's a yell. So let me have you say your name on a whisper so that the voice is coming out on the top of the whisper. Jan Fox. Good. Now let me hear you yell it. Jan Fox. Okay, all right. So that is your range as a speaker. It's your range on a telephone interview. Now how does that work, you say? I was talking to a person the other day who had just the same problem. And she was really whacked out about it. I mean, she was whacked out about it. We did a little work, and now she feels completely free. It was a miracle. But I know that can happen again. You can talk like that on the phone. Just pull your phone out a little bit. Make sure there's a voice on the whisper, or they won't hear it. But you heard me when I whispered things. Okay? So you have all of that range to work with as a speaker. And as a person who's in an interview situation. Yes?
Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
So when I'm talking on the phone sometimes, I'm trying to sound passionate, and I come across sometimes as sounding anxious.
Okay. You guys are all, I have to give you guys the clicker. You get here too fast. You get to the part too fast. Okay. I'm going to get there. Here's answering your pace question. I go like 100 miles an hour, especially if I know somebody's watching the clock. Right? And I always try to pack one more thing in that I should not pack in, and then I have to run like a crazy person. These are the people who drive me nuts. I would like to, well, maybe you could. I was wondering. Those are the slow boats to China. And I'm telling you, if you have anybody on your team ever who talks like that, fix them, because that's the least listened to voice. Of course, with researchers. People turn right off at that voice. But they equally turn off when I go 100 miles an hour like this. You can't understand what I'm saying, and it's all suddenly exactly the same. So we have to practice modulating. So it means on every phone call with our friends, we try to use a faster pace for some things. We try to use a slower pace for something else. We try to use a louder voice for something. And then we have to stop this. He's going, but it's not political. He's going, So researchers say that if you have an problem or an problem, that people think you don't know where you're going. They think you didn't prepare for them, so why bother to listen? And it's a personal affront if I didn't prepare for you today, you'd feel cheated, right?
Yes.
Okay? And then they think that we're not as smart as we think we are. I can't afford to have anybody thinking those things about me, so you don't have to raise your hand if you have a problem. You should give me a little flick like this or something. I'm just telling you to fix it. You want to know how to fix it? It's very easy. You're going to yell. Shut your mouth! Just shut your mouth! Because an comes from over shut. Right? So when you say an yeah, that's one way. What are you saying? In between, you're trying to think about what you're going to say next. So you go, think with your mouth closed. You can practice it. You can practice it starting on the phone call you make when you get out of here today. If you know you're going to say an just shut your mouth. And here's something else. If you hear who, what, why, where, when, shut your mouth. Because if I say to you, what are you going to do tonight for dinner? Well, I can hear it right now. What are you going to do this weekend? How did you do that? So those who, what, why, when, where questions generate an So shut your mouth until you've formulated the thought and then start. It'll sound like this. Yes, I did it. It's a tiny pause. People are accustomed to tiny pause, but they hate the ums. They hate the ums.
Is well a good substitute?
Well is a bad substitute, and so is like. Now I have one. Have you noticed mine? I have a little tick. Do you notice what it is? I click and then I say, so. Have you heard a few so's?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that has killed me to stop that. Now, who's the passion person? You in the back? You were the what passion person?
Yes.
if our passion only comes from yay, 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 and I have a lot of yay passion in here, right? I'm talking loudly and I'm going, yeah, yeah, I want you to get this, yeah, yeah, yeah. If it only comes from yay, then it gets boring. It can also border on anger because it's loud. But watch this. I can still have passion from different places and it shows up differently to the listener. Are you ready for this? It comes out of thinking. Well, think about it this way. What happens if we think about it this way? Let's try something else. See how those all still have passion? They come out of some kind of thinking behavior. Now here's the next one. We can't keep going with these numbers. If somebody says to you, has it been a long search for you? It has been a very long search for me, but I am determined to get through this. There's a place for that in how we talk. And here's another one. As soon as this is over, Ken's going to buy us all pizza for lunch. He's laughing. Okay. So see how your passion sounds different coming out of different places. But you don't ever want it to sound anxious.
Right.
And don't ever want it to sound begging.
Right.
No begging. I would love this job. It's very different than, I'm really going to have this job. So make sure you know the difference. Now, y'all have a little card I gave you?
No.
Yeah. Oh, come on. It's a little card, little comment card. This has all right, did anybody get a little card?
Yes.
Okay, you got a little card. Here's what I want you to do. If you fill this out for me, of course you think I'm going to bombard you with an email every week with a newsletter, right?
No.
I'm too lazy. I'm telling you right now, I'm too lazy. But if I'm speaking somewhere, or if I know of something that might be of interest, I might send it. But here's what I really want. I want to hear what you have to say about today's seminar. And then also, somebody in here will win an hour of free coaching. One of the first people who sign up and put it up here. You win an hour of free coaching. And I will send everybody my 52 top tips because there are too many to go over in an hour. And then if you want to hear what I'm doing from time to time, but I'm too lazy to do it very often, schedule a free consultation for half an hour to talk about your speaking needs, talk about how to stop going fast. Or yes, I'm interested in more information about having Jan work with a group or with a team or with another organization. Just fill that out for me, and I have a business partner who will make the calls to set those things up. But I would like to send you my top 52 top tips. Okay?
I'd love to keep that.
Okay. Oh, hey, here we go. You win the hour of free coaching. Wait. I'm sorry. Look, you all have to move fast. I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. Okay, now do me a favor. Shoot me an email to jan@foxtalks.com.
Janet?
Jan@.
Oh, Jan.
Janet is my mother. You made that just made me jump, okay? Jan@foxtalks.com. And tell me that you want a free hour of coaching, and we'll work it out for you. Now, has this been a lot to take in a hurry? Yep. Okay. There's only one thing left to do. When you practice, I'm telling you, you have to practice these things. Do you think I stand at home and practice some of this stuff? I do, to this day. I have something I have to do at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. It's a 10-minute short talk. I've been practicing that thing for 2 weeks. I've been living it for 2 weeks. I did one for him at a speaking event. Could you tell I practiced? But I don't practice to sound rehearsed.
Right.
I practice to sound unrehearsed. Did this sound memorized? Well, I just know it, right? Okay, so that's what I want you to sound like. Now, there's only one thing left to do, and that is to empower yourself. You stand up in front of this room and you say, I got this. Everybody say it. I got this. I didn't believe you. Say it again. I did not. Now do it with some action. I got this.
I got this.
I got this.
I got this.
And you stand in front of this room with that attitude because you want to give them that much energy. You want to give the interviewer this much energy. So you force yourself to believe that you got this. And then this is Rose. Does anybody know Rose?
No.
2-year-old philosopher. She's buckling her seatbelt and she's saying, worry about yourself. Worry about yourself. I got this one too. No, I do this one too. Could I help you, Rose? No, thank you. I got this. You just drive. You drive. It's really cuter when she does it. It's funnier when she does it. But the point is, I want you to just be so empowered by the amount of practice you do and the commitment and the intention you have about becoming the boldest speaker you can become before you go for that interview. If you go just like you've always done, what do you get? Just what you always done. So what's the difference if you try to just go a little bolder? They don't know it's not you. You might just be living up to it, but they don't know that. Let them think it. Just empower yourself. And then I want you to go bold because she or he who speaks best goes to the top of the leaderboard in every industry. How many of you have been working someplace and you work very hard, you're well equipped for the job, you know your stuff, and somebody has passed you by? Why did that person pass you by?
They knew how to work the room better.
They knew how to work the room. The bosses could hear their voices. Their voices are being heard in a positive way in the workforce. They speak up. So I tell you to speak up, speak out, speak often, and go bold. Got it?
Yep.
So now, questions for me.
What about in group interviews, applying some of these techniques?
They're all exactly the same. Now, in a group interview, do they call on you or do you have to decide when to talk?
They tell you when to talk.
They call on you in the group interview? It works both ways. Okay. When they call on you, be ready. You anticipate every possible question they can answer you and be ready with that answer. And bring it out not from your words, but from your heart. Bring it out from inside you. Now I'm going to I'm going to tell you this, and then I'll sit down and shut up. Okay? It's one thing when he stands up, when he gets a big hook. It's time, okay? So there's a woman who works over at IBM on 9th Street. She was 22 years old. She bit her fingernails until they bled and had her little bloody stumps. She could not even speak in a group. She couldn't speak up hardly when people asked her questions. I know that was a double negative there. She couldn't speak up even when asked. And they'd taken her to shrinks and put her on antidepressants and everything else, and nothing worked. So she came to me and I said, I believe I can help you, but it's going to take some practice. So we did all of these things. We worked on it. She called me and said, oh my God, I'm doing better, but I just got invited up to a big meeting where I'm the millennial on a big committee to decide how the IBM should use its resources. I don't know what I'm going to do. I said, well, the first thing you're going to do is introduce yourself because that's what they're going to tell you to do. Oh God, I'm Melissa. No. They are all going to say, I'm John, and my 2-line title here at IBM is this. Their titles are 2 lines across the top of their business cards. I'm not kidding. And they're things I don't understand. So if they start with that, I'm lost, and so is everybody else. I said, you're going to start with this. I'm excited. And I said, what are you most excited about? She said, well, I'm working on a project called Battle Buddy. And it's an app that the soldiers in the field can put on their phones, and when they are depressed or feeling like suicide or feeling down and out, they can press a few things on this app and get some words of inspiration. Now that made me cry. That felt like God's word to me. So I said, you're going to say, I'm really excited about the project I'm working on right now. It's called Battle Buddy. And it's designed to save lives in the field when people are in the army or and they're serving our country. And how it works is, and she said what I did. She calls me. And she practiced that. She practiced till she was blue in the face. We did it for 2 hours in the back of my little church one day. She didn't stop because she wanted it so good. So she calls me. Fox, you're not going to believe this. When I said I'm excited, they all put their phones down, they put their pens down, and they looked up at me. They were all looking at me exactly. And at the end of the meeting, they voted on which app they wanted to put the IBM resources behind. What did they vote on? She barely got her name out. She didn't say her title once. So that's the trick. You are prepared for every question you could possibly anticipate. Make sense? Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
How do you get in touch with you?
Jan at foxtalks.com. And let me show you something. Who's got the little book? I have more, if you didn't get one. If you look in the back of this, there's my card. You know that a young person did that for me.
With the QR code?
And with the QR code too. All right, anything else? I'll hang out for a little while to have it. Yes, ma'am.
This is probably more of an observation. When you were doing your story, well, before you did your story, you did the no proficiency, the limp, and you went up. I thought your story was to illustrate the levels of proficiency. Because when you did the first one, that was just the picture of you and your brother, and I was like, oh, well, and then I felt like, okay, there was no proficiency. Then you showed the auntie. Then you showed when you were in the pageant.
Yeah.
Then you showed when you were on TV. So I thought those were the levels that people aspire to. So I thought you were making that point.
Well, I wish I'd been smart enough to think of that point, but I wasn't. The point of that slide was to show you how the level of your speaking proficiency decides on what kind of sphere of influence you have and what people's response is. So that's all I was saying. And then my story was just to show you how to make people have feelings. So, but if you saw that, I'm going to go home and think about that. This is how the best things come to me. Okay? What else? Anybody want to tell me what you got out of this? Shout. Don't all shout at once. Yes.
Strategies.
Anything else?
For me, I thought that even if it's a technical presentation or technical demo, the storytelling is still going to apply to that.
And you can still use pictures. You can make up pictures, okay?
A lot of what you said about developing your voice reminded me of voice lessons, learning how to sing and controlling the timing and the pacing and the projection and singing from your
diaphragm.
Yeah, your diaphragm. I lost the word there. So I thought that was very interesting. I thought, I should just try singing my elevator speech. And trying to project that in a way that sounds exciting and strong, and like I do when I sing.
She does have a lovely voice, and aren't her hands working in perfect sync?
Yes. Thank you. So that's what I was thinking of, because I have some experience with those kinds of voice lessons.
Wow. My daddy spent a fortune trying to make me an accordion player. So anything else?
I think that it was very important for people to know your walk in life and your story, and that you didn't just start at the news channel. So everybody has their own story, but if you tell a person a story, they'll believe it. And they will remember the story. It gives them encouragement, inspiration, and I think that's I'm always asked to tell my story.
She's got a story. Now, and listen to her voice.
When I get going.
Anything else?
I don't need to mic much.
No.
You were talking about basically not talking and listening. That kind of reminded me of one of my favorite quotes from Abraham Lincoln. Said, "It is better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to otherwise be found and ring a penny down."
And what she said reminded me of Maya Angelou. They don't remember what you say. They don't remember what you say. They remember how you made them feel. Make me stop.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Well, give yourselves a hand for playing so hard.
Well, as I mentioned, for those who are new, you can join me in the room next door to tell you a little bit more about 40 Plus, and thank you all for coming. Next week, we have a